Well, as always in Northern Ireland, an election poses more questions than it answers. Our political editor, Mark Devenport, is with me. Mark, our discussion between the TUV and the DUP showed no quick healing of this unionist crack.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it prefigured the kind of arguments that we might have across the Assembly chamber if Jim Allister builds on his performance in the European election and actually forms a sort of Bob McCartney-esque group within the Assembly. He'll be there pushing for voluntary coalition, and whilst the DUP say they would prefer that, it is difficult to achieve that. The SDLP have talked about the ugly architecture of the Good Friday Agreement, but it will be a major risk for the SDLP to go into some sort of voluntary coalition with the Unionists leaving Sinn Féin out of the picture, given their increasing dominance on the nationalist side.
OK, but the Assembly election is 2 years away, potentially. So in the meantime, the DUP have got that time, I suppose, to, as they put it, reconnect.
Yeah.
How's that going to be
Well, I mean,
done?
They're looking at this 66,000 vote block that Jim Allister was able to attract, and they're trying to work out, say, the 24,000 who transferred to Diane Dodds, could they bring them back into the fold? And this is why they talk about these sort of multiple reasons for the TUV's success. They know that there will be an essential core bloc there who simply disagree with their decision to go into power sharing and the way they did it, and maybe they can't ever win those people back. But they're also looking at those people who maybe were disconcerted about Westminster expenses, maybe thought Jim Allister was a better candidate for Europe, were disconcerted about double jobbing. So that's why we're hearing all of this stuff about trying to sort out double jobbing, maybe a bit of a reshuffle that will take some of the MPs out of the pictures at Stormont, because they think those are all the bits that they can deal with. Now, of course, Jim Allister says that they may be kidding themselves, that this may just be the start of his bridgehead, and whilst they're trying to identify some of his supporters who may be wooed back, he thinks there are some within their 88,000 that he might bring over now that he's established that he is a force to be reckoned with.
And, of course, before the next Assembly election, there is a Westminster election.
Yeah, and there he has already indicated that he may well take on the DUP in North Antrim. Still a little bit of a question mark as to whether that will be Ian Paisley Sr., who talked about Jim Allister challenging me. I thought it was interesting that he said me, not us, although most people think it's more likely, just because of his age, to be Ian Paisley Jr., but clearly that will be a sort of a battle royal up there in North Antrim, and Ian Paisley Jr. definitely won't be a shrinking violet, I would have thought, about coming out into any debates. I think the possible problem for Jim Allister may be replicating his appeal in other constituencies. He can't take that Bob McCartney road of standing in multiple constituencies. It was a failure as a tactic. So he's got to find credible candidates. Now, he says he has some young, credible candidates who are coming through, but none of them will have exactly the same kind of headline-grabbing ability that he has on his own.
In the meantime, and in the much shorter term, you mentioned a reshuffle. Any clues as to how that's going to work out?
Well, it's been pretty clear during the course of the week that Nigel Dodds is going to opt for Westminster, so the DUP has to find a new finance minister. A lot of talk about Arlene Foster maybe moving into that role, but it's not definite as yet. Jeffrey Donaldson, I get a sense that he might prefer to opt for Stormont, which means that they might have to find a new Lagan Valley MP at the next general election. And then there are those other MP ministers who have to make up their minds where their future lies. Sammy Wilson, could he be a finance minister at Stormont, or would he prefer to stay in Westminster? In an interview just this week, he said, if I want to work all day and all night, that's my business. So he seems still to be inclined to hang on to as much work as he can. Also, Gregory Campbell, Willie McRae, David Simpson, all those people have to make up their minds. But there was a lot of talk that the reshuffle would be today. Hasn't happened. Maybe it's going to be likelier towards the end of the summer term of the Assembly.
If the DUP is going to sell, as Nelson McCausland says, sell to those people who deserted them the benefits of devolution, does that mean much closer, much more open work with Sinn Féin?
Well, yeah, they are going to have to work out how they deal with this, because in a way they have been selling it as a battle a day, which they have been winning. They've been saying, look, we've won on blocking education, we've won on blocking the Irish language, so they've essentially been saying we're controlling devolution. So essentially what they'll have to do now is work out how do they maybe sell it more positively without necessarily appearing to be the junior partner to Sinn Féin in this deal.
OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.